Fuck! Oh, come on! Oh, come on, I hit you first! Fuck! Oh, this is ridiculous. You are a son of a... What the... No. No! No! I'm going to find you and I'm going to... Oh. This is hard. Will you stop distracting me? I'm going to get through. Yes. What the fuck are you doing? I'm just not going to look. It doesn't matter. I'm still going to die. For fuck's sake. I'm the god of hellfire and I bring you death. One hit, Lee. One hit.
My Leighton cannot solve this mystery by himself.
Sod off.
I don't like it. I don't like dying.
Fuck. Now it's time to bring out the big guns.
Go Megaforce!
Fuck. No. Shit. Come on. Dead. Hi guys, welcome to Overbite Gaming. I'm Snare.
I'm Lee.
And today we are reviewing Bloodborne.
Bloodborne is a new action RPG game from Software, who have previously created Demon's Souls, Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, and they've all been a little bit tricky.
Yeah, to say the least. I think we should start off by talking about the visuals though, before we get into the obvious thing about it being hard.
Yes.
Personally, I've played some of this game, and because of the difficulty level, I've not played a lot. But the visuals on the whole, for me, they look okay. They certainly have a kind of ambient thing going on. I think you've mentioned to me before that everything kind of fits together. My personal favourite is the kind of textures on the clothing and the effects of blood on the clothing as well. That looks really cool. What are your thoughts on it?
I think the textures themselves aren't anything spectacular, but they all come together to form a really nice atmosphere. It's very sort of... It's how you imagine like the back alley slums of London looking, but with a bit more sort of Prague grandeur about it.
If you could walk around with a big fucking axe.
Which you probably need to in London back alley slums.
Mm-hmm. The visuals, I think that they're certainly not PS4 like maximum potential, and obviously if it was on PC, which it's not, then maybe the visuals would be a lot smoother and nicer.
But of course they would, dear boy.
Yes. Get back in your box. But I think generally, it's okay for a PS4, but it definitely has a Japanese feel for graphics.
Well, yeah, I mean...
It's from the Japanese studio, isn't it?
So that would be why.
So it's kind of, for me, I've always found the Japanese graphics and stuff not to be very real. It's got a very, very certain style in when you get games like, Final Fantasy, etc. They have a general kind of Japanese feel to the style. Yeah. And sometimes the attention to realism is kind of left by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly tell that in the character models because they're all sort of tall, thin, even the bulky guys that you can, like, the bulkier guys you could pick, they all have, like, really long legs, really thin legs. It's sort of very reminiscent of something like Vampire Hunter D or something like that.
Yeah, who's skin and bone and nothing else.
Yeah.
It's not displeasing to look at. And I think, for the most part, when you are in the environments, you're feeling like you are in the environments, not just some painted background. It does feel a bit more real than just being there. You actually can take it in. Yeah.
In terms of sound, the game doesn't have too much music to it, but it has a lot of very atmospheric sound effects. As you're going through these streets, wetting your pants about what could be coming up next, and you can hear groans and howls and bells ringing.
Bong!
Dance.
I've been waiting to do that for minutes.
Whole minutes.
But no, sorry to interrupt you. The bells are it's my favourite bit of the soundscape. It's so far in the distance that it feels like someone's ringing it to warn other people you're coming.
Yeah, it definitely has a sense of foreboding about it. And
even the speech from the enemies that you're fighting in the game, it doesn't make much sense to me. But I get the impression that they're on a hunt for you.
A lot of the stuff the enemies say is very strange. It's unsettling because they'll be attacking you with pitchforks and axes, and then pleading with you not to kill them. It's
Or calling you a beast.
or calling you a beast, and you're just like, that's strange and unsettling.
Yeah, I mean, we both haven't got mega far into the game.
I should say not. No.
Yeah, and you've definitely got much further than I have. But maybe there's something that's going to happen in the game later on that's going to explain that feeling of you being a beast and them being scared of you.
Well, in the menus it does reference there's a beast attribute, so perhaps later on you can.
I don't know, but
become
maybe.
beast-like. Maybe.
So, I mean, the sound definitely has a kind of nice, well-produced feel to it. I think it's probably my favourite part of the game is the soundscape. As I've said in previous reviews and talked about other games, just between the two of us, sound is very important to me for making me either love or hate a game. And if you've got good sound in the game, it's just like cherries on top, sprinkles hundreds and thousands. It makes a good game great. And, I think the soundscape does work pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. But seeing as you think sound is one of the most important factors of the game, you like this sound. How did you feel about the rest of it?
Well, now that's quite an interesting point, Lee. I'm glad you brought that up. I have never played a From Software game before. I think we should put that out there straight away.
I think
And you have.
I've played Demon Souls and Dark Souls.
Yeah, so you're the veteran in these kind of games and I'm not. And I don't like this game. I'm keeping it contained. I don't like it. I was looking forward to it because it kind of, from the gameplay that I did see, it was kind of like games I've played in the past, but not necessarily the From Software games. It gave me an impression of it being a bit more. I wanted to say a bit more actiony, but it's got a lot of action in it. But I expected to see a game a bit more like, I don't know. It looked a bit God of War-y, kind of the action third-person RPG type thing. Potentially something like that. But I ended up with playing a game that within the first 2-3 minutes, if that, dead. And I know about the From Software games being hard, but I don't really like the fact that in a tutorial moment of learning controls and stuff, you should die. It just seems counterproductive to me. And that's the story that will happen over and over again, by the way. I mean, you'll spend more time dying and watching the loading screen than playing the game. Well, if you're like me, anyway.
Yeah, I really like the level of challenge that the game presents. I mean, it's not like God of War, because in God of War you're a one-man death machine. In From Software games, it's very much balanced, and even the weakest enemies have a chance to kill you, and you literally need to play it repeatedly to learn their attacks and become better. It's not so much an attribute-based improvement, it's based on how you become better as a player and how you play it.
I mean, from the way you describe it there, it sounds more like it's a memory game.
There is a lot of like learning attack patterns and stuff like that. It's almost like when you had bosses in previous games and you had to learn their attack patterns, but you have to do it for like every enemy.
Yeah, and that's my problem. For me, like having to run through the game, not necessarily run, but going through the game, killing enemies, and then ending up having to backtrack to level up and grind for no reason. I enjoy a bit of grinding when I'm actually getting a bit of a reward at the time, but for me to get anywhere, I know people have completed this game without leveling up at all.
Yeah.
But I find that ridiculous and a waste of time. I go to games for an experience. I don't go to a game for a frustration simulator or a memory game of, oh yeah, this is what this attack does, or this enemy does to me.
I think calling it a frustration simulator and a memory game is a bit unfair to it. Certainly it's difficult. Certainly you need to become familiar with the bad guys. That's a given. But I mean, just the sheer thrill of when you do something awesome in the game, because it's so difficult. When you take down, like, there's a group of 4 fairly near sort of the start, and for the first few times when you sort of pile into them, you just get your ass kicked. But then you get to the point where you take the 4 down without taking a scratch, and you're like, yeah, come on.
Well, maybe this is the difference between you and me, because I haven't actually reached that point of actually getting any thrill from this game whatsoever. For me, it's just been play, try and kill somebody, die, wait, start again with nothing, and it just doesn't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I don't get any enjoyment from learning attacks and playing the same tiny piece of a game over and over again, in what I think is actually, you said to me, is the tutorial part of the game.
Yeah, it's
the acid test.
From Software games basically open up after you beat the first boss. So I haven't actually done that yet. I've got to the boss, which is more than this link has managed. But I think I can get him. So when I do the footage for this, hopefully you'll see me kick his ass.
Yes, indeed. But for me, I just don't like playing the same thing over and over again in a tiny little space of game that I've paid full money for, and I haven't got a chance to experience any of the game. I did say to you before when we were discussing this off camera that it feels like it's an elitist game, and you did disagree with me on that.
Yeah, I think because the majority of people like it, the elitist viewpoint would be not to like it.
But from my point of view, I've paid money for a game that I'm not going to get to experience because there is no difficulty setting. There should be a difficulty setting in these games. I mean, because you're somebody that plays all games on easy,
Yeah,
right?
I am.
Because you like to just play the game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But From Software games, having played them in the past, I knew exactly what I was in for coming into it. I did sort of explain to you it was hard, but until you actually play a From Software game, you don't really have any concept of how hard it actually is.
I mean, it's not like I can sit here and not recommend the game, but I would only say to you, if you like an extreme challenge of a video game, then this game is the kind of game you like. If you like an extreme challenge, if you like to experience games or casual game, or like to be kind of taken along in the story of the game, I would steer clear of it.
If you're in
like
the
that.
Candyland, don't get this.
Exactly. It's made for a certain kind of gamer, I have to say. For me, it doesn't push my buttons.
Well, it does push your buttons.
Yeah, it makes me push my buttons and then die, which is not quite what I want out of the game.
Although I will agree with you in one aspect that's very frustrating to me is the load times are horrendous.
Horrendous.
It really annoys me that it's not available on PC, because obviously we could do something about that. But on PS4, the load time is, I don't know, about a minute and a half. And that
feels like longer.
Every time you die, which you will die a lot. You always die a lot in these games.
I think my time spent in the game is probably about 40% load screen. I'm not exaggerating at all, because you will die a lot. I probably have 40% of my time staring. I'll probably get a shot of this. So 40% of your time is spent looking at this, which is not great, but it's a necessary evil sometimes. But for such a small, what I understand is a small tutorial acidy test kind of level.
Well, it's not that small. And I mean, it's certainly
Sprawling.
It's big for what it basically is, which is the tutorial bit. And you get a lot of different enemy types, and you get a boss, and it's basically that teaches you how to play the game. And then once you pass that, it makes you. Your complaint is it doesn't give you very many sort of. You do this, you do that, you do this. It teaches you how to play the game by doing.
No, my issue with this is the fact that it's not a tutorial. You cannot call this level at the start of the game, that, as it is in Bloodborne, a tutorial.
I did.
And you did, but you can't do that because it's not.
But I did.
A tutorial is there to teach you how to do stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I've had lots of gripes before about teaching people to use the left analog stick. I get that argument, right? I still stand by it. So giving me button does this, button does that. Okay, you can do that, no problem in this kind of game. But I would expect some kind of training place that you're not going to keep wasting time in, so you can practice and get to the bottom of those special moves and the insta-kill kind of moves you can do in the game, which I still haven't got the hang of yet.
No.
Mainly because I keep forgetting I've got a bloody gun, which you have a gun and a main weapon, so that kind of works. But for me, a tutorial, what we've got here, right, and I'm starting to get a bit agitated, but what we've got here is we have, like, in old kung fu tales, a student sitting outside a kung fu sifu teacher kind of place and being told go away, and then he stays there and he gets told to go away again. He stays there until he gets let in and taught the secrets of kung fu.
I disagree. I think it's more of a Karate Kid 3 type of training where you smash your fists and legs into wood until it eventually breaks.
And how is that good, Lee? I don't understand.
To smash through wood after it breaks.
I would rather Mr. Miyagi than the guy from Cobra Kai Gym.
No, it wasn't that guy. It was
Oh,
Terry Silver.
It was Tommy. Was it Tom? I can't remember his name.
What? Johnny Lawrence.
The one with the ponytail.
Oh,
I can't,
yeah, that was Terry Silver.
we're going completely off topic, but this is the equivalent. This is totally equivalent, and I don't understand. A tutorial should be a Mr. Miyagi kind of. Mr. Miyagi didn't kill Ralph Macchio every time that he fucking did something wrong.
When he was with Terry Silver, he just stood behind a door and giggled while he was smashing his limbs into wooden boards.
But my point is, a tutorial should show you or give you the chance to practice those skills, especially when the game is so damn hard.
Yeah, but that's what that first area is for.
But it's part of the game. You can't call it a tutorial. There's no way to practice without failing.
Yeah, but what's fail? You just start it again.
Exactly, and I have to play the same bit over and over again. And this is the kind of argument we've been having for over a week and a half now.
Yeah.
When I first started playing this game, I sent him a text going, "This game sucks," because I'd never experienced a From Software game, and I don't want to get Stockholm Syndrome over this game. I really don't.
I don't think you can. I don't think there's any element of love coming in.
Well, it's like Marmite. For all those people that don't know what Marmite is in the States, you might do, you might not. And other countries, not just America.
Vegemite.
It's kind of like Vegemite, but it's a love or hate thing. And I don't think there's anyone out there that kind of picks up Bloodborne and will go, yeah, it's alright. It's either I really love it because it's really challenging, or I really hate it because it's really challenging. And I think I fall into the latter.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from, I just don't agree. I think, for me, when I play a From Software game, it's difficult, it's frustrating to begin with, it's fine. But as you get into it, I just find the frustration melts away, because every time you die, it's because you've done something wrong. It's not because it's unfair. The enemies have just as good a chance as you. So it's eminently fair. And it just frustrates me when you get people that go, oh, it's rubbish, and it's so frustrating and horrible. I'm almost like, I don't understand how you still feel that way after playing it for so long.
Well, I'm one of those people
Yeah,
a bit. I
I
don't.
think your brain just works strangely. Maybe that's just it.
I think for me, I need some time to get used to a game and to really master controls, and I don't feel like I'm getting enough time playing the game to do that, because I might get a couple of minutes before I end up dying, and it's maybe because I'm shit, maybe because I haven't played enough, but I haven't had enough time to master controls, to try things out, to get used to finding sweet spots on enemies and timing things. I just haven't had the time. I don't feel like I've been given enough chance to, and because of that, I'm being frustrated by a loading screen. I'm being frustrated by the difficulty I'm being thrown into, and to be honest, there is no story that I've experienced so far to know what I'm doing and what context I'm doing that thing in.
No, so far it's been very sparse with story mentions. You do get...
I've seen 2 cutscenes, or 1 cutscene and 1 bit of
It does
exposition.
unlock a bit. I mean, you have your basically safe place, which is the Hunter's Dream.
Yeah.
Where you go back and you can talk with a couple of characters there. You can also talk to some of the townsfolk that have red lanterns outside their door. You can knock on their door and basically have a conversation through the door, although a lot of the time it's more like, go away, you're not coming in.
Yeah, and apparently that you can get side quests from those doors. I will point out. I only know this because I've watched other people talk about it. I've got nowhere near that sort of point of actually getting a side quest.
I had... I tapped on a door and they asked me for something and I didn't have it. So I guess that was a side quest.
Oh, but you've got to keep going back, Lee, because that's where the excitement for the game is. Anyway, we're digressing into the whole review being about how hard the damn game is. So let's talk about other things like the actual the gameplay and what you're actually doing inside the game.
Yeah, the gameplay for me is just, it's not quite perfect, but I would blame it more on hardware limitations. I would like to see the frame rate higher in something that needs to be as responsive as this game does. I think that it's not done any favours by being made a PS4 exclusive, personally. I would love to see a PC version of it. Hopefully it's a timely exclusive, and we may see that, in which case I'll probably end up buying it again.
I think we will. I mean, we've seen other games do the ports, haven't we?
Yeah, but PS4 exclusives tend to get pretty much locked down.
We shall see. I mean, I'll be interested to see what it's like on PC. Certainly the 30 frames per second, what feels like 30 frames per second limit does affect, because you are rolling about and changing the background scenery a lot, so you do see a bit of tracking and ghosting and things, which is a bit annoying, to be fair.
It's just not responsive, and when you take so much damage per hit and die so often, you really want those controls as responsive as possible.
That's very true. So moving on to the actual gameplay mechanics itself, the character that has no name and don't know who they are has appeared, and you basically have nothing on you, and the first kind of room you go to, you get killed by a werewolf thing.
Well, I almost got him.
But after you die, you end up going to the Hunter's Dream, which is like a hub kind of space where you can pick up some weapons, have a little bit of an explore, learn what the actual controls are, and then basically kit yourself out a little bit so you can actually have a weapon and a gun. So the gun, I don't think there's any choice. You just get the single one at the start.
You get a choice of 2.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you get a choice of gun, and you also get a choice of 3, I think, weapons.
Yeah.
So one is a cane, one is an axe,
Yep.
one is a cleaver.
Yes, more or less saw blade.
Yeah, and so they all have the ability to change between a short and a long weapon, and then you have a light and a heavy attack, which is kind of nice, because it does give you a bit of changeability in your attacks. It's not just a one button attack. You do have a bit of, I mean, the game requires stupid amounts of skill, but you do have to use the skill to swap between weapons, fire at the right point to stagger enemies, and then you can give them an insta kill or give them a lot of energy damage. I mean, I think the designs of weapons are quite original, and I've seen some people using, obviously later on in the game, the ability to combine weapons together in attacks. So you actually do a light attack and then join it up with the other bit, and then you can do a heavy attack. So that kind of stuff seems cool, but I'll never get to see that, unfortunately, because I'll be stuck in the tutorial apparently.
You just annoyed that we can't counter with the gun.
Yeah, I have to be fair, I can't get to grips with it, and I think that part might just be me getting so frustrated and not trying, and therefore ending up quite shit and making me even more frustrated. So yes, okay, we agree on something on this review.
Not that you're shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, how did you find the rest of the kind of the game interactions, the menus and inventory and things like that?
I found it to be absolutely fine. You have a number of slots that you just bring up and you equip. You don't have to go through like a big inventory screen. You just go in what slot, open it up, and it just shows you everything that can go in there.
Yeah, you're quite, in terms of controls, it's a button will access stuff that you've kind of made available from your inventory. So you can literally just access it quite quickly. You can scroll through weapons on your right hand, your left hand, give yourself health, which is a really important button to not to get mixed up with anything else.
It's so important. It's a face button.
Yeah, it's. I think there's also an option to give yourself bullets, but take away from your health.
Yes.
And if you pick up anything extra that you've maxed out, so you got 20 of, I don't know,
bullets.
20 bullets, and you pick up some more, they go into your inventory storage back at the Hunter's Dream.
Yeah, up to 99 can be retained in storage, but you can just sell it for extra echoes, making sure I don't say souls there.
Yeah. I mean, that is your currency of the game. We haven't really touched on that yet.
Mm-hmm.
So your echoes are your souls from previous From Software games. So if we say souls, you know what we mean. But they are your currency. For the most part, I think. I don't think is there any other currencies in the game?
There's a few like unique things you need to do certain stuff, like upgrading weapons. It sort of requires that and echoes.
But echoes, they're fairly easy to come by. I mean, you kill an enemy, one of the low level ones. I remember it being about 50 echoes.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's about 5 pebbles. which pebbles are used for attracting enemies to try and draw them out from a mob, which does work to an extent. I've been too far away sometimes, and it's kind of rolled at their feet instead of actually hitting them, and they kind of they turn around to look at it, and then go, "It's a stone," so I've wasted a pebble for nothing. You can't pick them up, which is annoying, but those echoes can come across. You can come across the echoes really easily, and then obviously use them to buy up your gear and your accessories and Molotov cocktails and
the game
bits
does
and bobs.
a really nice risk-reward ratio like the previous games. So basically, when you die, you drop your echoes on the floor, or if there's a monster near it, he'll get them. And you need to get either back to that point or kill that monster to get them back. So this results in you being very careful, because if you die again, they're gone for good. So you need to make sure that you want to go on and know you risk losing those echoes, or you can go back and then invest them in a level up, or buy some armor or some equipment with it, something you won't lose if you die.
And that's the annoying part. Another frustration for me was obviously trying to get to a point where I had enough stuff to progress in any way. So after I killed a few enemies, I'd go back and obviously use those echoes to level up a few things or buy some new gear, which at the start you don't get anything apart from one set. And then going back into the game world, they've all respawned and you've got to do it all again, which is okay from a grinding perspective, but if you get to the end of a section and you've maybe just like run through it, you've got to fight your way back through or run the way back through, and there's no quick kind of I need to go to Hunter's Dream button command, which I would really like. I mean, I would like to find a safe spot and go back to Hunter's Dream, but the nature of the game, you can't even pause the fucking thing.
No.
If you're in your inventory, very much like Last of Us, which is a game I reference in a lot of reviews and stuff recently.
Yes, you do.
But that's because it's a great game. But in Last of Us, you go into your backpack and you're like doing stuff, and you can't pause the game either. There is no kind of safety in a pause menu, and there's no safety in this game either. You even on any screen where you're doing stuff with inventory and stats and whatever, it's all done with a D-pad, and you can still walk about if you wanted to without being able to see anything with your directional stick. Yeah, I mean, I found the inventory screens really confusing.
No, I was fine with them.
It was like opening up. It's like being an 8-year-old and opening up a quantum mechanics book. It felt completely. What is this stuff? There were some standard things, like how much things cost. You could work that out fairly easily. But there's like when you go into the inventory screen or the shop screen, the messenger, I think it's called, is like a fountain in the Hunter's Dream where you can start selling and acquiring things. In there, you've got all these kind of abbreviations and symbols with numbers, and it looks like hieroglyphics to me. I don't understand any of it. So if I got into the point where I actually was comparing weapons, I wouldn't know what's going on. I wouldn't know which one was better than the other.
No, it's when I think it's because you haven't awoken the doll yet.
See, I haven't awoken the doll.
No, she's still asleep. When you go in there, that's where you get to level up, and in that it shows you what all your stats are, and it has a corresponding symbol next to them all. And those symbols are used to indicate sort of blunt damage and stuff like that.
See, for me, maybe I'm just wanting a more simpler life, but there are people obviously that enjoy a really in-depth, really, I'll say articulate, but it's probably not the word I need, but it's very well crafted together in the inventory, and so once you get into it, maybe it opens up and becomes really, really important. But certainly when you start playing the game, there's no like arm around the shoulder, come in and try this out. It's like, well, this is what you get. Learn it. It's a real harsh reality.
The games have always been like a throwback game to sort of like the NES or SNES eras, where they didn't give you that level of support. It was just like, here's a game, play it. But
it was a lot more simple in that instance, because those games were exceedingly kind of straightforward. If you had a menu screen in a NES game, it would be pretty simple. It would be saying, I don't know, strength, vitality, and give you a score, not some random hieroglyph that you need to work out what it is.
I don't know, when I played Final Fantasy VII, first time on the PlayStation 1, it was the first Final Fantasy game I'd ever played, and there was a lot of stuff in there. I was just like, it took me a long time to wrap my head around a lot of that, because I'd never played one before, and I'm just wondering if that's symptomatic of your struggle with the inventory.
Well, maybe. I think also I haven't given this game enough time to really kind of become a grower. I remember playing a demo for Resident Evil 4. Was it 4 or 5? I can never remember. It's 5. I think it was 5. On from the PSN, and it plonked you in the middle of the game, and it's really fucking difficult. It's like a horrible section where you didn't know what you were doing apart from killing stuff, but you had no practice at the controls, and this is what this feels like. It feels like I've been thrust into it, and I haven't had a chance to get to know and love it, because when I started playing Resident Evil 5, it was one of my favourite Resident Evils.
That's much like your hatred for this. That's a controversial viewpoint.
Well, what I'm saying is that I grew to love that game from playing it at the start and being kind of brought into it, whereas this feels like I'm playing that demo again, and the frustration of, oh, for God's sake, this is so difficult, but I'm not getting any enjoyment out of it. I don't like you.
Well, what I liked about Resident Evil 5 was going back through it and grinding. And that's kind of what you do in the first part of Bloodborne. So,
and I think it takes a lot to get used to, and then maybe that's the bit that I haven't done yet. That's all. I just don't think it's it doesn't make friends easily. It's like the kid at school that might be kind of left outside in the cold and hasn't got any friends, but then you get to know them and they're really cool.
His dad's got a speedboat.
Yeah, it's that is that kid. This is that kid. So if you are that kid, don't worry, because lots of people like you.
Well, they like your dad's speedboat, but it'll rub off, don't worry.
So, I mean, we've talked about the inventory, we've talked about the menus, and the way that we can actually kind of make things quickly available and it all put into your playing style. The different weapons can obviously act in different ways. Some do more damage than others, but some are quicker than others.
Yeah.
Classic kind of RPG weapon fare. I suppose we need to talk about kind of the final thoughts on it.
Yeah.
Because I'll do mine first, because
you know what it's going to be.
Well, yeah, you know what it's going to be. Now, I think this is a game for a certain kind of game player. I don't think it's got mass appeal. I think it's a niche product. I think it's something that only a certain number of people will like. I don't know what the sales figures are like for it, but judging by the Amazon reviews, as we checked yesterday, it's overwhelmingly in the kind of 5-star category. I personally don't like it. I think I'm trying to be as balanced as possible without ranting too much, but I think it doesn't treat you like a human being. It treats you like a piece of meat. It doesn't give you the access to the game that you've paid for unless you really invest a lot of time getting to know what you're doing with the enemies and the attacks. It doesn't give you a chance to embrace the game and really feel like you're becoming badass. You have to earn that. So for me to pay money, if I wanted that, this should be a free game, because I'll be paying you my time and frustration. I get that's never going to happen, and I know now what a From Software game is like, and on my experiences here, I'm unlikely to play any more from that company. And it's not because they're doing bad games, it's because I don't enjoy those games. Unless we have to review the next one, in case I'm going to kick your ass.
I'm so reviewing the next one.
But my review is, if you're into that hard challenge, it's going to be close to like a 10 out of 10 for you, I think. It's, I can't say that for myself. I would put this down as maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10. And that's not bashing it. It's just my own opinion and my playing style. I don't enjoy it. So sorry, Bloodborne. I'm not going to be your friend. What do you think?
Not that. Strangely enough.
Shall I just go to sleep then?
Just go to sleep. I think some of the comments in your roundup there were a little unfair. I think it does treat you like a person. It just doesn't treat you like a child. It does expect you to put time in. And yeah, there you go. It's a game you'll basically get out of what you put into it. If you put a lot of time into it, it will open up and you will reap the rewards. If you don't, then you're just going to be frustrated because you won't know what's going on and you won't have learned the skills you need to survive it. I personally, although I'm not generally a fan of difficult games, From Software are kind of like in their own separate box for me. So when I buy a From Software game, I know it's going to be a hard game. It's not like I buy like a new RPG that I've never heard of before and it's really difficult and I'm like, with From, you know what you're getting. And as long as you're willing to invest the time and effort, it will give it back to you in spades.
I will just mention one thing that neither of us have actually experienced yet, which is the multiplayer options.
Yes.
I've seen many videos of people invading other people's games and having a fight. Not quite sure how it works because I haven't actually done it myself, but there are stories of people just, whoever has the most health files will either win, and if they run out of health files they'll disappear. So we'll yet to see how that pans out in the Bloodborne kind of community. But it's something to be wary of. If you choose to do the multiplayer option, you may come up against people that are dicks. Jinx. But you will maybe come across people that have just stocked up on health files, come to kill you. You do quite well, and they'll either leave or they'll just keep on pumping themselves full of... Okay, not like that. But pumping themselves full of health files and basically win that way. So be careful.
Yeah, I never got into the multiplayer purely because I don't want people interrupting my game. Not when the game needs as much focus as you need to put into this game.
Absolutely. So just a little addendum there, but thanks for watching for everything we've gone through. My final score is quite clear of 3 to 4 out of 10. What was yours?
It's probably an 8.
Yeah. So for the first time here on Overbite Gaming, we have a different opinion on a game.
Maybe a 4. Fucking 4.
Well, I said 3 or 4, so now you said that, it's a 3.
3? Luigi? Well, mine's a 9.
Well, it's not going to be a 9, is it? It's never going to be a 9.
Well, it's never going to be a 3, is it?
Oh, for fuck's sake, Lee, it's not going to be a 9.
Of course it's going to be a 9.
It can't be a 9 because it's shit.
It's a 10. Fucking 10.
You son of a bitch.
Call me a son of a bitch, you arsehole.
You Still just a 3, you asshole.
10, dick face.
I hate that game.
I like it. I guess that was our review of Bloodborne.
Comment and subscribe. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Catch you later.
I mean, it's fine for the most part. If you're kind of literally running across an alleyway and you need to jump over something and then jump up onto a roof, it's fairly fluid. But if you're on top of something and you want to get to like the bit underneath where you are, that's really, really tricky. I have nothing more to say, really. This review is not going well. This is more of an attack. I've even crossed my arms. I'm not happy.
You've definitely putting out some negative body language there.
Yeah, well, say what you want. I don't